editor of Accountancy Age. If you think this is a bit of deja vu, I'm a journalist, not a technician. Minor technical problems for the AA Periscope team there, but we're back on track now. I'm filling in for Kevin Reid, the editor, who is on his holiday, gone shopping on Black Friday, which is not the way I'd spend my day off. He claims he didn't know, but we all know, as a true accounting journalist, he's a cheapskate. Look after the pennies and the pounds look after themselves. Anyway, today I'll be looking back at our British Accountancy Awards, which took place earlier this week, and really going to look at some of the key winners, and chiefly the work undertaken by Tony Lomas, the PwC partner, who was tasked with unwinding Lehman Brothers, and the winner of our Outstanding Contribution Award. We're also going to take a look at the autumn statement, which is where I'm going to begin. Now, starting with the statement, there wasn't too much meat on the bone for the profession, yet there was the illuminating example of John McDonnell, quoted from Chairman Mao at the dispatch box, quite what possessed the Shattered Chancellor of the Labour Party to quote from the great helmsman himself, and a man responsible for the death of millions and millions of people. Only John McDonnell will know. Anyway, the joke didn't work, and I'm going to try and refrain for any Chairman Mao jokes. Anyway, really the key stuff was how a rather bullish Office of Budget Responsibility expected an improved economy to contribute more tax through to 2020-21. Now, a bit like myself, George Osborne has already gone and spent this money. And basically, what he's spending it on is HM Revenue and Customs is committed to making 800 million of sustainable resource savings a year by 2020. Now, the 2 billion cumulative savings over the next 4 years is going to be offset, in a sense, by 1.3 billion that's going to get reinvested into the digital transformation of the tax administration. Now, the key issue then is, can HMRC make such a massive transformation, one which will see it make a 31% reduction in headcount? An administration with the consistently lowest morale among government departments, an administration where more and more customer phone calls are going unanswered, and of which the Public Accounts Committee Chair Meg Hillier said this month was a genuine threat to tax collection. Now, the HMRC predicts digitisation to lower customer calls from 38 million to 15 million in 2020, as info and services will be online, shows you clearly that the current system is out of date. And there is a hell of a lot to cover in the next 3 years. Note also that HMRC Chief Exec Lynn Homer has committed the taxman to collecting an extra 7.2 billion in evaded tax. Now, there are myriad assumptions upon which the Chancellor is relying on for the numbers to come good, and given his previous estimations very rarely come good, that might be a bit of a bet. But what is certain is the accountants are going to be charged with continuing to bridge the gap between clients and the taxman. A taxman that has been under great change in the last few years, and with seemingly more fundamental and disruptive change ahead. Now, looking back, obviously at our own awards programme, the British Accountancy Awards, it was a great night, and over 700 people from the profession joining us to celebrate really what's best about accountants and your profession. Now, some of the key winners: Independent Firm of the Year, JF Hornby, picked up, and the Global Firm of the Year, Grant Thornton, National Firm of the Year, Mazars, were both selected by the readership of our sister title, Financial Director. So that's an important award, because there's actually CFOs and FDs voting on who they think their best accountants are. But really it was Tony Lomas, a partner of PwC, who works in the insolvency practice, who was the really outstanding contribution winner for the night. Now, Tony has worked on the administration of Lehman Brothers, which totals around almost £400 billion administration. Now, that filing triggered a chain of financial disasters around the world, even the one of HBOS, which we obviously looked at last week, and the involvement of his auditors, KPMG. Now, in the case of Lehman's, the operations in London were well capitalised, which meant there was a lot of money for Tony and the administrators to extract and return to creditors. But nevertheless, it was a complex and long process, and still is for those involved. Now, more than £35 billion has been paid back to the creditors so far. Okay, that's ordinary creditors who had a claim on Lehman's estate, that's banks, customers, bond investors, staff. They've all been repaid in full. Now, how often do you hear that in an administration of that size? Now, what is really astonishing and surprising is that Lomas is already sitting on 5.5 billion of cash, which is actually left over after the end of administration. Now, that is rare. A lot of that is to do with interest payments and some surpluses which are there. Now, there was a High Court hearing this month that took place to try and settle who that money is owed to. And as Tony Lomas told the Telegraph back in September, the big question is who is entitled to that money. Now, it's not quite clear how it's finally going to fall out, but if you do want to find some information on how the hearing went down, you can check out the latest administrators report on PwC's site. But nevertheless, it's one of the fundamental administrations that probably ever taken place, and Tony Lomas is a rightly won outstanding contribution for repaying all creditors from the fall of Lehman's, and who would have thought that all those years ago. Anyway, I've been Richard Crump. You think this podcast all over? It is Mao. Oh, I did do a Chairman Mao joke.